macOS Sonoma comes with a plethora of great new features and enhancements, including wallpapers, screensavers, widgets, updates to Safari, the list goes on. It was announced back in June, and now that I've installed it and had some time with it, I finally got around to testing most of what it has to offer and really digging into these features. Some of these things I find super useful, some less so depending on how you use your Mac, but many of them aren't very obvious in terms of enabling or tweaking them or how they're used. So today I want to go over not only what these new features are and how they work, but also how to set them up within macOS Sonoma. So if you're curious about macOS Sonoma, what the new functionality has to offer, and how to use it to its full potential, stick around and let's get into it. Hey everyone, Kyle Erickson here. WWDC was the first look that we got at macOS Sonoma, and since then there's been a couple of beta releases. I think we're on public beta 2 now, so things are getting to a point where they're pretty stable, and I thought I would just throw it on my MacBook and take it for a spin. I haven't seen many detailed videos on how to set everything up in Sonoma. I know I was sort of fumbling around trying to find out how to adjust and use everything myself, and outside of what Apple has shown in the keynote, there are times when you really have to hunt down how everything works. I thought I would just take my experience and consolidate the things that I found to be the most useful, and there are quite a bit within this version of macOS, so let's just get right into them. One of my favorite features in this release is the ability to add web pages to the dock and run them as if they're standalone apps. If I go to any web page in Safari and hit File and go to Add to Dock, that web page will have its own little standalone app in my dock. I'm really pumped for this feature because I've been doing something similar already, just with a much more complicated process where I've been building a wrapper around sites like Google Docs that essentially put them into a browser window with no controls. I do that because it just gives these tools a singular focus and an app-like experience without having a bunch of distractions within a browser, which I think this feature is really going to help with. I know for myself, I can easily get distracted when I have a bunch of tabs open, and I just like having this extra degree of separation. Speaking of Safari and focused workflows, another great new feature is the addition of profiles. What this does is allow you to create and customize as many profiles as you want within Safari, and it keeps a separate history, tab groups, extensions, cookies, and favorites for each of them. All you need to do to set that up is to head over to Safari, and in the menu bar at the top, go to Safari, Manage Profile, and from within there, you can hit the plus button to create a new profile. And then you can just switch between the profiles by clicking this button on the left-hand side of the window. Again, super handy for keeping things like work and entertainment separate. For me, this is really handy to be able to be logged into different Google accounts at the same time. I don't know how many of you have felt the pain of having a work and home Google account and bumping up against access issues and calendar problems and things like that, but this separation really alleviates those problems. You've also got some other things that have been added in Safari as well. The search bar functionality is more responsive and is supposed to provide you with more relevant and easy to read information, and similar to Safari on iOS 17, you now have a locked private browsing mode option. You can enable or disable that specific feature by going to Safari, Settings, and under the Privacy tab under Private Browsing, you can toggle Require Touch ID to view to turn this off or on. If it's turned on, basically you'll either need to unlock private browsing via biometrics or by entering your password. Like I said, it works pretty much the same as iOS 17, as do a number of things here. The Messages app has stickers and a bunch of other things like swipe to reply, advanced search features, and improved autocorrect. That stuff should all work out of the gate, and if you want to see more on that, you can check out my iOS 17 video. Widgets are also something that these two operating systems now share, which is completely new in macOS Sonoma. I guess we technically did have widgets nested in the little notification center area on the right-hand side of the screen, but now we can actually put them on the home screen on our desktop. All you need to do to add them is to go to that notification sidebar by clicking on the time, where you can then either drag the widgets that are already there onto the screen or scroll down and hit Edit Widgets, where you'll see a pop-up very similar to iOS and iPadOS, and you can just drag those anywhere onto your screen. These widgets are great if you just want to take a quick look at things and check off things like reminders, look at the weather, battery levels, you name it. And the cool thing is you can add a ton of widgets that are already on your iPhone without installing the corresponding apps on your Mac. Those iPhone apps should show up in here by default. The only downside to a lot of them is that clicking on them will want to open up the corresponding app on your phone. I'm not sure if that will change in the future, but it is pretty useful for just taking a quick glance at things. By default, they'll show up in color and turn monochromatic when they're in the background, but we can tinker with that a little bit. If you go into the Settings app on your Mac and scroll down to Desktop and Dock, you can toggle to show widgets on the home screen or not. So if you don't want to see these at all, you can turn that off here. If you scroll down a little bit further, you can customize the widgets by setting their color. Say if you want them to appear monochromatic or in color at all times, you can change that here. And if you don't want iPhone widgets at all, you can turn that off here as well. I like to keep a couple on there that I find useful. It's definitely a nice feature to have. And something else that I found pretty interesting as it relates to the home screen is the added wallpapers and screensavers. If you head into wallpapers within settings, you'll not only get a bunch of new wallpapers, but you can see now that I have this little toggle that says show as screensaver. And similarly in the screensaver section of settings, a lot of the same scenes are listed there with a similar toggle titled show as wallpaper. These are both really cool because of how seamless they work together. The screensavers are very similar to the ones on the Apple TV if you've ever seen those. Essentially a lot of landscapes and cityscapes. They're all generally really pleasant, but you'll notice if I leave the screensaver and come back to my home screen, that animation will continue for a second before it slows down and stops, which I think is a really nice detail. The same thing happens on the lock screen that has also been redesigned, with the user icon and password now located at the bottom of the screen, which I'm assuming was done because of this whole new animated edition. Next on the list is something that Apple has historically not been very well known for, which is improved gaming. Now when you enter a full screen game, the Mac will automatically enter gaming mode, which will put that specific game as the top priority for your CPU and GPU. Now, I've only tested this out on my MacBook Air, which isn't the most ideal gaming machine. I would love to try this on my Mac Studio, but because I do all my work on that machine, I really don't want to install beta software on it, but I do notice pretty smooth gaming, albeit a little bit lower settings on the Air. I should probably add that if you're watching this while macOS Sonoma is still in beta and you want to try it out, it's probably a good idea to do it on a machine that you don't really have any critical work on, or at the very least create yourself a backup before you update it so that if anything goes haywire, you can just restore it. I'm only saying that because I've made that mistake before and I've had to do a clean install. But anyway, back to the last couple of really neat features. There's a good chunk of functionality that's been added with video chat in the camera. When you've got your camera on, you'll see this little green camera icon up in the menu bar, and if you click that, you'll see you've got some added reactions in there. I'm not sure I would personally use those, but they're there nonetheless. Also, if you're in a compatible app, I'm using FaceTime, but I'm assuming this will roll out into apps like Zoom eventually as well. But in that same menu, I'll have this little icon where I can enable a presenter overlay. You can see I've got small and large options on here, where small makes my head into a little circle off onto the corner and focuses on the content, where large puts more of a focus on me and puts my content in a panel behind me. And from within here, I can select window, app, or screen to share. I can also hold down on the green circle on any window and go down and share that as well, which is kind of neat. One last thing in here, if you're using your iPhone as a webcam or the camera on your Mac Studio monitor, from within the same camera menu, you can click to recenter the frame on your face, and you can manually pan around in Zoom as well. Finally, the last thing that I want to touch on are some additions to notes and PDFs. When you open a PDF, you can now click this little button on the right-hand side of the screen that enable something called advanced autofill. This is supposed to use AI or machine learning to automatically fill in a lot of these fields for you. I haven't had a ton of luck with this, and that might be because I don't have much forum data on this MacBook yet, or it could still be something that needs to be cleaned up. We are still on beta software, at least right now we are, so these things will inevitably pop up, but one thing that has worked is the added PDF functionality in the Notes app. You can now open and edit PDFs from within the Notes app, and there are a couple of ways that you can do that. One way is to drag a PDF onto a new note. You can see the attachment is there, and I can now go to mark it up right from within here. I think you can also share this with other people and collaborate on it at the same time, but you'll see once I leave markup, I've got a full view of the PDF, and you can now scroll through or click through each page. Another way we can do this is right-clicking or control-clicking on your PDF and select Open With, and then go to the Notes app, which will also show this view right off the hop with all the pages, where again you can make annotations and sketch directly on here from within Notes. Outside of that PDF functionality, similar to iOS 17, you can now add inline links in the Notes app by highlighting your text, right-clicking or control-clicking it, and selecting Add Link. I can also finish off the note in Pages if I want by clicking the share button and going down to open in Pages. I know those features are going to be useful for some people, but I probably won't use these notes or PDF features too much. but I could definitely see myself using quite a bit in Sonoma. I really would love to know what you guys think of all these features. Are you digging anything that's in here, or would you use any of them, or maybe you don't like them at all? Whatever the case, drop a comment down below and let me know what you think. That's it for me today. I hope you found this video useful or entertaining. If you did, feel free to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see more tech-related content or find a malfunctioning set of traffic lights and direct vehicles with me with cool hand gestures, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.